Broadcast is
What is
live and
going
we're
on?
on.
Yeah, what's
How we
going on,
doing
buddy? How
tonight,
are you?
everybody? I'm good, man. I'm good. Happy to pop on here and interject my smart aleck remarks tonight with you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's
That's what
awesome.
I'm good for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Sparky will be on here in a little bit. Hopefully, he's really. Hey, there he is.
He's struggling.
He's having poor guy's having some. He's had a rough week. so, so, but now we're having some technical difficulties, but we're back here. So, all right, awesome.
He's got the
I keep
Amish
you
internet.
keep telling me it's Chris's fault, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure on this one. This one might be ours. So, so, hey, I hear you have a little bit of a hike coming up. What's going on with that?
A little bit. It's this new trail they've got out. It's called the Appalachian Trail or Appalachian Trail, depending on where you're from. And it's almost 2,200 miles. And I'm going to kick off another section here coming up soon.
Awesome. How
So,
many miles have you done so far?
um, well, let's see. I did the approach trail, so it's 8.8. And then I did like 69 point something up to Dix Creek Gap. So if you add those
Mhm.
two together, it's roughly like 78 miles, 69 actual official trail miles, and total 78. And then this year I'm looking to start off right where I left off at Dix Creek and going up to Fontana Dam. So it's the base of the Smokies. That's a 97, 98 mile trip. So 8
Nice,
days to do
nice,
it in. I'm planning on 7. I've got that one extra day built in there. So yeah, man,
awesome. Any special gear preps or new things that you're taking or trying out or?
yeah, caught some flack too. It's funny. People are like, "What are you?" This one guy commented on video. So I went to a tent this year,
Okay.
primarily a hammock camper, and a guy was like, "How in the world does anybody go from a hammock to a tent?" I'm like, I know. First love is still hammocks, right? But
Yeah.
um, man, the tent when you're on a trip like that, multi days, it's just find a good flat spot, and I can get inside my gear if it's or in my gear, get inside my tent when it's raining, and spread my gear out. And you know, that's that's the biggest reason. I thought it'd be nice to be able just to, when it's raining outside, get in my tent, spread my gear out, cook underneath the vestibule, whatever. And so I don't know. We'll see. I've tested it out a couple times now. 2, 3 times I've had it out, so it's working. I've slept all right. First
Huh.
love's still a hammock though.
Awesome. How's your weight on it? Are you too worried about it, or do you pretty much keep about the same
Um,
bases?
Same base weight. Well, my base weight is like 10.6 pounds, so not bad. Um, and
That's
then
pretty good.
I've got all my food together.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a chore. 8 days of food. I'm getting ready to ship out 3 days down to the Nantahala. I believe that's how you say it. The Knock Outdoor Center down there. I'm gonna hit that on day 5. So shipping food out there. I've got 5 days with me, and I've always heard 2 pounds of food per day when you're hiking, and my
Yeah.
food bag weighed exactly 10 pounds. So it's like nailed it. Good. I should be good, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it sucks when you've got a 10.5 pound base weight, and then you're adding 10 pounds just of food, and then fuel canister and water. So it still won't be too bad. I'll have a little over 20 pound pack. Last year it was a little over 19 with 4 days of food. So I don't know. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's one of those
Yeah.
trails that I would, if I could, I would definitely like to get out and through hike it one of these days, maybe. So, but until then, my goal is just to keep biting off sections every year that I can and see as much of that dream as I can, right?
Yeah, yeah. I keep trying to talk Sparky into doing a section hike with me on the AT. So he's
No, hey,
no.
it's
You're
not for
brave
everybody.
man,
It's
Carlson. You're a brave man.
braver. I don't know, glutton for punishment, probably. But
In case you're wondering, Sparky is waiting on his dentist appointment while he's doing this live stream. He is that dedicated. Just FYI.
we'll get the laughing gas to him here soon.
Yeah, oh, like he needs that. So, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, sorry, what are you using as far as a shuttle service, or how are you dropping your car
um,
somewhere?
yeah, so I'll be parking my truck at the Fontana Dam Visitor Center. And last year, I used Ron's Appalachian Trail service. I found him on Facebook, and he had great reviews. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna use him again. Contacted him. He's gonna pick me up there on Saturday morning and drive me back down. He said he'd have me at the trailhead at Dix Creek by 9 a.m. So I was like, sweet. Super nice guy, super informative about the trail. last year when he picked me up, he was showing me some laminated maps. He's like, well, next year when you hit your section, here's what you're going to hit in North Carolina. So, I mean, super nice guy. So just kind of looked into him.
Yeah.
Last year. I really didn't know who I was going to get. I know Andy's in the chat, Metro. He's got a buddy that does a shuttle too. And if you want to shout him out, I've heard a lot of good things about him.
Yeah.
So,
heck yeah. Yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
So
I tell you,
yeah,
North Carolina is probably one of my favorite backpacking states. I was actually just talking about this earlier today. Like I think that terrain is so underrated. Like I'm not a big through hiker, but
Right.
I mean, obviously I've talked about maybe doing the JMT. Well, I probably have multiple times, but
Oh yeah.
the MST actually I think would be really, really cool. If I was ever going to do like a long through hike, that would probably be it. Just, I've done sections of it in different places, but Linville Gorge, Mount
Right.
Mitchell. I mean, all those places are awesome. So
this will be a first for me. I've never backpacked or hiked or anything in North Carolina. So looking forward to that too. And I mean, I usually try to follow a YouTuber or two every year, something that I can get behind and watch their journey. And I've seen it on TV, right? So we're going to hit it here soon.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, let's see who we got in the chat, actually. Let's say hello to Metro and KillQuest. I seen Spaguyver in there. J3 Hikes. Hello, all from Tucson, Arizona. Hey, buddy.
Nice.
Did you just get some snow, I think? So I think the whole state of Arizona about got blanketed.
Yeah. Metro said further shuttle Appalachian. That's who he uses. So I'm sure you can find them on Facebook.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I had a lot of people ask me how the trip was. And speaking about Arizona, I said, you want to know what the weather of Nevada, Arizona was like? We live in northern Indiana. It's the same. It's like 40 degrees and snow. I couldn't tell a difference. I spent the last 4 days in a car. It was the same.
He literally is not lying. He's literally is not lying.
No,
so
I felt right at home. It was awfully nice of them to change the weather for me. Thank you.
I'll tell you, if any part of this country needs to end a drought, every time I've went somewhere, it seems to rain. And I mean, even in Vegas, it was dumping buckets. Like I'm looking over at the aqueducts and they're just raging at that point. So it was pretty nuts. But actually, let's get right into that if you're cool. Brian, I'm actually curious to hear, have you heard of Flatiron at all and some of those different places that we talked about earlier?
Yeah, I've heard some of the places you talked about. Like I said, heck, I was born in Arizona, didn't live there long, but been out there and visited a few times. I've been to Sedona and that, so I know a little bit of what's going on out there.
Awesome. So did you you were younger or how old were you when you were out that ways?
Well, I was born out there and I lived there till I was 5, but I've been out there a few other times to visit, done the, Grand Canyon a couple times, been through Flagstaff, been to Havasu Falls, been to Sedona. So done a little bit.
Have you ever seen it snow there?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a first for me.
I used to drive a truck over the road too, and I've gone through Flagstaff with tons of snow on the ground. So yeah.
So nice. let me start this trip off. So I decided to leave Friday, right? I'm taking a full road trip, driving out that way. Sparky's flying out as of that next Wednesday into Vegas. Start heading down Route 66, got to hang out at the Blue Well, which actually is where I got my Oklahoma Route 66 passport. So nice. Shout out to the Blue Whale. But actually, if you haven't ever heard of Route 66, every state has like these little passports and they're just full of places that you can get stamped or all these little shops, and they don't cost anything. It's really, really cool. But it's also a good way to kind of get an idea of some of the things down there. Start heading out to Arizona, and it's pretty standard drive, not a lot happening. Although I think I was under the same dark cloud from St. Louis all the way down to Texas. I mean, it's kind of wild, but and I start getting into Arizona, and I remember thinking, it's like, okay, man, maybe I finally get out some of this colder weather or whatever, start coming down to the Phoenix Mesa area. Well, they have what's called like the White Mountains in Arizona in the Tonto National Forest. It's Payson, if I'm saying it right. So dude, I hit so much snow up there. It was like a whiteout. I mean, it was coming down pretty solid. And you know, if I'm back in Indiana, you're not really thinking too much about it, and maybe it's because you're just familiar with the terrain or whatever. You know what you're driving in, but you know, I'm not familiar with the terrain, so I'm a little sketched out a little bit about which road to take. Do these roads going to shut off? Then my Google alert comes up and says this highway's closed. All of a sudden I have to reroute or whatever on my Google Maps. I'm like, this is weird. So I drive on and I stop at this gas station and I pull up. I'm like, got half a tank of gas. I know I can make it to Mesa at this point, but I kind of want to fill up. That way, if I do get stuck, at least I got a full tank of gas. Maybe I can work with, and you know, it's not a dire situation then. So I do that as I'm filling up. You know, just snow's coming down like crazy. Take off. At that point, after using the world's slowest gas pump, my OCD was like completely triggering at this point in time. So I start heading down, and even as I'm coming out of the Tonto National Forest, I mean, there was snow everywhere up until like within 30 minutes of Mesa. It was unbelievable. So, I mean, I'd say the snow line was probably right around 5,000 feet. I would guess maybe a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But it was pretty crazy. So come into Mesa and I'm staying with my buddy and my first agenda is Flatiron. I mean, this is something I drove by a long time ago, wanted to do it and kind of didn't really push the envelope. I should have took advantage of the time I was out there. So it always was kind of haunting me. Well, this was the time to do that. So Chris, why don't you go ahead, if you could bring up the first file for Flatiron, and we can maybe show a little bit of that profile of what it is.
Are you talking about the PowerPoint?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, okay. All right, hold on. Momentito.
Oh, there's that guy.
Yeah.
Great. I forgot he was here. I forgot it was so nice and quiet and peaceful. I forgot he was here. Oh, that's beautiful, Chris. Way to go.
That does not look like. There we go. Okay, so this is actually the elevation profile. So over 2,600 foot gain in about 2.5 miles, but most of that gain is after like 1.5 miles. I mean, you got a section called the Siphon Draw, which is pretty wild. That kind of levels out a little bit, but then it ends up. I like to say it's almost like walking up Indian Staircase for another 100 yards. So it kind of sketches you out a little bit. But 2,600 feet of gain, I would say, in this, probably the last 3/4 mile, I would say is probably 1,900 feet of it. Just guessing. You know, I mean, it's kind of hard to gauge it off that, but it's probably one of the more intense hikes I've ever done, including the Adirondacks. I mean, just simply because of all the 4 points of contact. So if you go ahead and hit that next slide, Chris.
Wake up, Chris.
Chris, wake up!
This is really why I brought Brian on here.
At your service, sir. Back away from the cookies. This is PowerPoint, not apple pie.
Now we lost him.
Look, I'm trying the best I can. You sent me a large file here.
If it'd be easier to go to the pictures, that's fine.
No, I'm going back to. Hold on.
Chris said, "Oh man, you guys really want Brian here tonight? Seriously, really?
We're gonna make
it on the move. Wake up, Chris." Okay,
there she is.
All right.
I knew you could do it already.
If you look in the center, you'll see like the very center of that mountain structure. Like I'm pointing to it, like you could see it, but yeah, right there. That's actually the Flatiron feature. That's the Flatiron Mountain. So, and that's further back and much taller than the rest of those rock features. But basically, you're just shooting right up at the gut of that. So, it's flat until you get to those rocks, and then that's where all your elevation gain is. And then when you go to this next file, it's actually going to show, this is what they call as the siphon. And it's kind of a washed out area. Now, the crazy thing about this, I thought that this would just be a simple, right up the gut, no worries, very easy to understand hike. It was not. I probably would say about 5 or 6 times I kind of took off a side route and just totally used tons of energy wasted and going in the wrong direction. So, and actually, if you go to that next slide, this is me in the wrong direction looking down on the siphon. I had to crawl all the way back down and then head back in a different direction. So it was kind of like, it was kind of like if you haven't done it multiple times, you're not going to know the route. It's not marked. I mean, you just kind of figure your way up it. And I think the way that I figured up was not the easiest. So go ahead and try to play the next couple of clips, and then see if that's basically the trail coming that I came up, and it'll kind of give you a little bit of a visual there.
It's not really working.
Oh, that's fine. Try the next one.
Is that a video?
Okay. Yeah.
Wait,
That one
there.
Maybe. Jeez.
Okay, so the one thing I didn't contend with or even think to was all the snow and ice. And when you're on parts, like a lot of that was like 4 points of contact coming up, especially when you hit the vertical wall. I mean, that camera flattens it out and that just looks stupid at that point. I'd say that's probably about halfway up, maybe three quarters the way up. It was pretty intense. Go ahead and go to the next one. So
Here, this is a video too.
That is okay.
Snow makes it a little trickier.
I mean, that's I can't describe.
Sounds like my hiking video.
Yeah, it was. I was getting really close to the top of that one, and then. So
Jesus.
Now that's the view. When you get to the top, it kind of overlooks Phoenix and Mesa area, and everybody always runs to this point. I kind of went around to the side, and to me, like the best view is in this next file. So I'll show you that next picture. So that
nice.
It was beautiful. Like I couldn't believe how green everything was. I mean, obviously been getting some water, but I mean, it just one of the hardest hikes I've ever done. Now, the main thing I really want to talk about are this next file are these two guys. So you can kind of show them for a little bit. We'll talk about the man on the right now. His name is Flatiron Jim, and he is a legend of the area, like complete legend. 91 years old. And at this point in time, he was on his 37th time hiking up Flatiron at this point in time, which is absolutely incredible. I remember it was a good chunk of the way. I'm pretty sure I was past the siphon draw. I looked down and I see this gentleman. I could tell he was obviously older, making his way up, and he was very precise where he was walking. It's like you could tell he knew where to step and where to walk to. So he's very efficient with how he was approaching the trail. So if you remember that picture of me going up the wrong direction, when I came back, by the time I got back down, he was there sitting on a rock. Right. So I stop and talk to him, and he tells me a story. Now, if you have the chance, look up Flatiron Jim on Facebook. If you have Facebook, Rick has OCD. Hold on. I'm sorry. You totally threw me off there.
Sorry.
But he basically 91 years old, and he hikes all the time. I mean, everybody looks for this guy, and they get excited if they get a chance to see him. But the story that I got from him in 15 minutes was probably one of the most inspirational and soul-filling conversations I've ever had with anybody, talking about how the youth is missing out on not being able to do and be outside and get to experience all this cool stuff that he's been experiencing for years, and that sometimes people they decide not to start, quit doing things. And it's like, I didn't quit hiking, and I'm 91 and I'm still hiking because I'm not going to stop. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. And then he's passing people that are 20 years old, younger kids that aren't out of shape, but are tapping out. They're done. They don't want to go any further on this trail. So, so to me, it was like one of the most incredible people that I ever got to meet in my life. And then shoot to the guy on the left. His name is Wayne. He's from North Dakota. He's kind of a snowbird and decides to come down to the Arizona area for the winters. Basically met him at the top, and he's 70 years old, right? So
He doesn't look it, by the way.
no, he doesn't. He was extremely fit. I mean, he was extremely healthy. But when he comes down, he does this type of stuff. He always hikes everywhere, right? When I was walking across Flatiron the first time, going out to the view, there was a patch. I'd like to think of it as like if you've ever hiked Red River Gorge and seen the Goat Trail. It was similar to that, but it was covered with ice, and it was extremely uncomfortable. I literally had to. I wish I had like crampons or micro spikes or something. Literally, kind of had to slide and try to stay on trail to slide down off of this rock, and it was really, really sketchy. Well, coming back, I started thinking about Wayne, and I was kind of worried about him, so I kind of held up, and I was kind of going slow anyways, checking things out, and he caught up pretty quick. And we were talking, he's like, man, that ice patch was kind of rough, kind of scary. And he's like, yeah, it's kind of, I guess a guy died on it last year, died on the mountain. So because of that, well, we started hiking down and talking, and I found out the third time he's done that trail at 70 years old. Just, and he may have done it more, it may have been a weekly process, but as we were coming down, there was this Italian guy coming up. And the guy came up and back down and caught us as we were probably probably a quarter of the way down. And Wayne hollers at him. He's like, hey, didn't I see you on the mountain last week? And the Italian guy stopped and says, yes, I do it every day. I go up and down this mountain every day. Yeah, every day. So,
Yes,
but, yeah, right. So Wayne was like, are you kidding me? He goes, it looks like you're moving pretty good. How long does it take you? Now, keep in mind, it took me about 3 hours going up, getting lost, in shape, not getting lost. I'd probably say 2 hours solid going up. He goes up and down in an hour every day. That's his gym. And he was talking about how I can pay for these gym memberships. I can go out and experience, work out with weights, and it wasn't satisfying when I've got all this beautiful country around me to where I can just go and now these mountains are my gym, and so literally he said his fastest time was 46 minutes. So, and then Wayne started talking about a young lady that did it. He's like, do you ever see this lady that goes up? And the Italian guy's like, yes, named her name. She does it twice a day. So they're all, finding out there's this whole culture of people just in this one rock that I thought was absolute torture. These people do for fun on a daily experience, or a 91-year-old. I learned in my life, I have no excuses at all.
We got nothing.
Yeah. Kill Quest, the Italian stallion.
Yes.
So, but that was one of the bucket lists. And I don't know if have you heard of the Superstitions Ridge, Carlson? Have you heard of that trail at all?
No, not the trail.
Okay. So there's a trail that runs from, it's like 12, 13 miles. It actually runs from the top of Flatiron. I forget how far, but Wayne was telling me about it. I remember looking into it several years ago, and that was kind of on my list, and I crossed it off. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably never going to get to do that. But talking to Wayne, again, a 70-year-old man, was like, yeah, I went ahead and did it. It took me 13 hours, but I got it done. So,
Jeez.
I mean, it's just like a whole different culture of people that you get to run into out west. It makes you realize, how lazy are we?
Well, they got cool places to go do it too. What are you going to do? Go over to Salamone or something and hike a trail? They're going to go hike Flatiron.
It's funny you say that. Yeah, it's funny you say that, but I could. I mean, why not stop there on lunch or something like that? It's
yep.
When I see a 91-year-old dude like killing it, absolutely killing it, and he was very routine. Like I could tell he was going up like 40 feet, and then he would stop for a few minutes. Then he'd go up another 40 feet. Then he'd stop for a few minutes. And it's like where I'm trying to find the right path and going up the wrong. It's like he just was on autopilot going all the way up, zigzagging around those rocks. So, and there were parts literally was a scramble. I mean, I'm like putting my hand in a crack and making a jam to pull myself up. And maybe that was the wrong way, but it's like you think about, maybe this guy is just a different breed or something.
He's got experience. He knows where to go. He knows the trail.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Next segment, Chris, if you want to bring up the next PowerPoint when you can find time.
I got a quick question while Chris is trying to figure something out. Here you go. What's the football pick behind Sparky? Kilcoast. They got to know.
There you go. Let me see if I can get it.
If you could give us a quick home tour.
Want me to walk around?
You'll lose signal.
No, we'll lose signal.
Yeah, someone's a Notre Dame fan.
Well, living where he lives.
Yeah.
That's right in my backyard.
Michigan, right? Yeah, Kilquest. Are you Michigan, Kilquest?
Yeah, they are.
Are they? I wonder how the rivalry is right there.
Yeah, I don't know. They're up around the Grand Rapids area, I do believe. Not to give out their address or anything. So security numbers, phone numbers, date of birth.
All right. So I'm going to buzz through this. So this one was okay. So this one was kind of a big one to me. Well, first off, Sparky, before I get into this, why don't you talk about the dilemma that you had? Because you're supposed to fly into Mesa before we talk about why I went in this direction.
Yes. So our original plan was fly right out of Chicago, right to Phoenix. Then we were going to hit the trail and have a good time.
Yeah.
Nothing went right for me from the beginning. Starting with the week before, you know how you always check your flights, make sure everything's on time and still planning. Yeah, my flight was canceled. Okay, well then they put me on another flight and back up. I was supposed to leave Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. and get there at like 9:40. That was the original plan. Well, then they canceled that flight completely, got rid of it, put me on another flight that was supposed to send me out.
And he's dead.
PM and get me in at 2 a.m. on Thursday.
Yep. We might have lost.
How's the Amish internet doing?
There we go. There he's back. So, but yeah.
Did you lose me?
Yeah, that's all right. So basically, he was supposed to fly into Phoenix, and they ended up canceling that flight completely. And he was going to go over to Las Vegas, and then had a layover, and he wasn't going to be into Phoenix till 2:00. Well, I thought I'll just drive to Vegas and pick you up, and then we'll drive to Sedona from there. So I kind of wanted to see Lake Mead anyways, right? So I'm heading up the day before with the intentions of camping out at Lake Mead. So I've kind of been in tune with that area, paying attention to the water levels and stuff like that over the past year. And I just remember my nephew that lived out there always talking about going and swimming in Lake Mead. And so it was kind of important for me to go check it out at least, to see. So this was the drive out there. And I had such the coolest feeling driving towards those mountains. Like, it was almost like I was driving towards another planet. I mean, the mountains looked completely alien. I mean, it was massive. It was really, really cool. So, and again, it's like, I haven't been to that part of the country and it had a completely different look. So if you go ahead and go to the next slide, Chris. So this is like, yeah, he's on it now. We're warmed up, buddy. So you can see there, like the little islands in the middle with the white rocks and stuff like that. That was all underwater. Actually, where I was standing at when I took this picture was underwater. It's extremely down. I don't know the exact footage right now, but it's very significant. And if you go ahead and go to that next slide, this is off the Government Wash Road. There was a lot of dispersed camping, and it's a really cool area. So you got like $25 to pay for the Lake Mead recreational area to get into that. But then if you go to the Government Wash Road, then basically you can just camp out anywhere. So it was really a cool spot. Now, the one thing I didn't realize when I was there was how much that area was underwater. When I parked there and got out, I looked down and I'm literally parked on top of all these freshwater clams and shells. So it was really cool. So if you actually play that next clip there, Chris, that should be a video there. Yep. That's just the terrain around it. Literally was
like you're on the moon.
Yeah.
Like you said, too, if you've never been out west and you're from the Mideast over here, the East Coast, and you've never been out west, it's hard to explain to somebody what that actually looks like and just the differences of the landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but literally because of where all those seashell or lake shells, freshwater lake shells or whatever, I mean, it's like, wow, you start thinking, okay, this thing was completely underwater at one point where I'm at even. So, and then I realized that Government Wash was actually one of the docks, one of the boating docks that they can't use anymore. So with the lake going down so much, I mean, they had tons of boat docks that you only got like one, maybe one or two. I'm not sure the exact count right now. But it was just really cool. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that iconic picture of the boat sticking out of the water when they're talking about okay, well, I just found out like the day after that I was right next to it. So if you go to that next picture, there's the boat. So, yeah. And at one point, I know the water was so far back, there was like grass growing where all that water is right now. So it has to be on its way up a little bit. So, and if you go to the next slide, a lot of pictures I've seen, that water's back into the cab of the boat. So it looks like it might be going in the right direction. So, and then the next one, that's Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
Sparky, did you say you've been to Hoover Dam before or not? I couldn't remember.
Sparky's asleep, but I'll answer your question, Jeremy. Yes, I've been to Hoover Dam twice.
Yes, and I have been into Hoover Dam as well before this trip.
Do you remember where the water level was when you guys went there, or like on the pylons?
No, I was really young.
Okay. So I remember in the 80s, if you actually go back and watch like Vegas Vacation or something like that, you'll see the water literally is at the top of the right there. Thank you, Chris. Awesome. So I didn't realize that till I seen it on the other day. Just kind of crazy. At that point, Sparky's with me, and when we picked him up, or I picked him up, it was like dumping buckets in Vegas. I mean, you look at the aqueducts, it was absolutely insane. And then you get to this point, and then the last one, that was what we woke up to on the last day on Lake Mead. Just we got a little bit of sunlight coming through after a pretty rough night. So cool. Thank you. So it's up quite a bit. Spaguyver, yeah, that's up quite a bit from what it was 2 to 3 months ago. Absolutely. Yeah, it was almost kind of terrifying. I think it wasn't too far from Deadpool at one point. So
Sparky Kilquist says, I have plenty of Desmond Howard picks beaten on them. Referring to your picture. Looks like they might be a Michigan fan, huh?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But you don't hate on Michigan, do you, Sparky?
No, not actually. I live in both places, in Michigan in the summertime and in Indiana in the wintertime, so it doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah, technically, like his address is Indiana, but his backyard is Michigan as well, too. So
it's in walking distance. It literally is, a few feet away, so it doesn't bother me one bit. It's just Notre Dame is a lot closer, so
yeah. So Lake Mead was actually really cool. I was actually surprised at how fun of an experience that was. But the weather was just garbage. I mean, it just much needed for the area. but I just did not expect the 30-degree temps, the 50-mile-an-hour gusts. I mean, it was just really bad. In fact, actually, I don't know if you guys have ever watched. I'm going to give a shout out to a channel that I don't know if you guys have ever watched, but Ryan Hall, y'all, he's a weatherman that actually does weather on YouTube now. I watch him religiously. I really enjoy, and trust his reporting. When that night that of the picture of the sun, when we woke up, there was an alert that like Oklahoma, I think maybe, and in East Texas, Louisiana was getting just pounded. So when we were thinking about driving east at that point, hey, yeah, there he is. This guy's awesome. If you really want to know what's going on with the weather, I'm telling you, watch this guy. He's absolutely incredible. But he kicked up an alert, and I started watching it real quick, and it was talking about how the pounding that East Texas was going to get, and how bad the weather was going to be, and we ended up deciding to hold back. So at this point, we're like, all right, are we going to go off-roading? We're getting blasted with snow. At that point, Flagstaff was calling for 15 to 24 inches of snow with 50-mile-an-hour gusts. Sedona was going to get 8 inches of snow. The guy that was going to guide us in Sedona ended up getting a norovirus and sick. So we're like, we're done. We're done. We're not going to take a chance getting stuck, tearing something up. I don't know what's under the snow on the off-roads. I don't know the area. We're going to hit Route 66 stuff and just drive all the way back. so from then on out, it's a completely different trip, right? So brings up the next slide here, sir.
That's you, Chris.
What next slide? Which one?
The painted.
You don't have a shot list.
The paint. the painted forest.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Petrified forest.
Well,
sorry.
I was going to ask you if you've seen that when you're out there, because I went through that. That's pretty interesting.
I had no idea about that thing. I had no idea about that thing. I got to show off these pictures. Okay, so so first, you got 4 emails, Chris.
There's his personal email if anybody needs it.
Please reach out.
You're so professional.
Yeah. So I didn't really know too much about the petrified forest. I heard about it, but I didn't really know about it. It was the coolest thing ever. So it's one of those things that, wouldn't normally go to, but because of the change that we had to do, we ended up just popping in and checking it out. The stone logs on the right, how it looks like they're just cut. That was like one of the first questions I asked him. I was like, how did you guys cut those things? And apparently it's all like the pressures from them being underground or in the ground or whatever. It's just like chalk. It just finds a fault and cracks.
Cracks.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that stuff before? Or?
Who, me? Yeah, I've been there. I've been to the petrified forest before. Actually, got a short little video that I did with. I actually flew my drone there too. That was pretty sweet.
That would be awesome. Yeah. They actually asked us if we had drones at that point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was kind of like in the middle. I forget what they call it, but like where the big plateaus are and the big open valleys and that. I flew it out there. They didn't say nothing to me, so
that's cool. So
kind of that area.
So that was the cool. Go ahead and back up one more. So that was really cool. There's like a walking path, and you can do what you want. I mean, you can go as far as you want or as short as you want, and these views are just endless through these little mountains. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Now everything was wet. I don't know. I always felt like it would have like more of a color range. If I felt like I seen that a lot in the painted mountains.
This was the blue area. I can see the blue.
Yeah, the Blue Mesa area. So I had a hard time seeing the blue. He's making fun of me on that. So, but if you go to the next one, like to me, it was endless. I just never really seen colors like that before.
Yep.
I mean, just absolutely gorgeous.
Chris, if you go to my channel and pull up my video now.
Do you have a video of it on your channel?
Of the petrified forest.
Let's bring it up.
No.
Let's bring it up, Chris.
He doesn't want to give me the view. Tell me you went and seen Winslow. Did you go through Winslow?
Winslow.
Winslow, Arizona? You didn't stand on the corner in Winslow, Arizona?
I did not.
Oh,
Sadly.
You really missed like about one big intersection, and that's it. I was surprised there's nothing there. There's a couple little stores.
Well, I think a lot of it was just because we were so set in doing some off-roading and some hiking in Sedona, and then it's like, what do we have now? And it's like I never would have found these places if we hadn't had changed our plans, and it ends up being some really cool things to see. But I guess though the whole thing, like those petrified logs are protected.
Oh yeah, you're not allowed to take one out.
No, you're not, Sparky. So, and I don't really want to know about your contraband. So, but it legit is protected, and they'll actually search your vehicle, I guess, at the end, making sure you don't take some of those stumps home or whatever. I mean, they have free chunks of them at the gift shops, but
you can buy all kinds of real cool stuff. We actually went to a gift shop and bought like bookends, and they're really cool. I don't know if you got books. Nice. My wife does. I don't.
Do they cut them, or do they just do they try to shape them into things, or have you ever heard of that? I mean, I don't know that much about this stuff.
They had all kinds of stuff made. I can't remember off the top of my head what all they had there, but I mean, lots. I mean, just big giant pieces cut. I'm doing this there. Big giant pieces. Just like nice thick slabs and stuff. I guess they cut them, but yeah, it's something to see for sure.
Nice. Awesome. So, all right. And that brings us to some of our favorite, I guess, the attracting features of Route 66. So, Sparky actually found some stuff that I didn't even know about. And it was actually kind of surprising. Have you ever heard of a musical highway?
Yeah, yes. Sorry, Jared. You may have to do some more talking in case my internet goes out again. So,
is it going out?
It's going in and out.
That's fine. His dentist appointment is actually about up. Is what's happening.
Yeah,
it's about his turn. So, if you bring up the motels, go ahead.
I do know what you're talking about the musical highway. I do believe.
Okay. Yeah. So I need to see if the chat can name that tune. But the gist of it, I'll go ahead and talk about it. But Sparky brought up the point and found it. National Geographic redid this to where they did rumble strips on the Route 66. And to where if you drove over it 45 mile an hour, you would be able to name that tune or hear the song that it plays. So I think, Chris, if you can go under the Sparky folder, there's a video there, video A. You may have to download it, but basically we weren't sure if it was still there. Apparently the funding went out. We, as a government, we don't fund cool stuff like that anymore.
Yeah, it wasn't even labeled. They took all the markers and everything off of it.
Yeah. Yep. So, but just curious, hopefully we can hear it here, but if in the chat, see if you can name that tune.
Oh, what's that up there?
I don't know if you can turn it up anymore.
Yep.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, barely.
All right. You play one
barely
more time?
Could hear it.
Yeah.
What is that? I
Oh, what's that up there? Is that oh, yep.
Is America the Beautiful, basically.
There you go.
So
could you imagine if you didn't know that was there and you're just driving down that road at night and all of a sudden you started hearing you'd be like, what in the hell?
Well, I mean, what about the work that went into being able to make that? I mean,
right.
that's kind of nuts.
So it's done with like little speed bumps, right?
Yeah.
Is that how they do it?
Yeah, just like on the very edge of the road. Yeah. Rumble strips. Yeah.
So yeah, they had to just take and put spacing in a certain direction in a certain way or a certain depth and it to create those different tones. I'm like, that is just wild. And I never even heard of it before. And Adam was like, hey, we're going to drive to a musical highway. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then we ended up finding it, which was a really cool experience. Now, are you a fan of the movie Cars? I got to ask you.
Yeah, I've seen it. I have kids, grandkids, all the above. Yeah, was just watching it last weekend.
Well, then you can appreciate this. The Wigwam Motel, which was the inspiration for, what was it, Sparky? The Cozy Cone?
The Cozy Cone Motel. Yep. In the Cars movie. Yeah.
So this was one of the coolest experiences. We ended up, just giving up on any type of camping or at this point now we're glamping. We're stopping and looking for hotels. We called the Cozy Cone just to see if they'd happen to have a room, and they did. So if you'll bring up a couple of the pictures, Chris, from that. So right there, I got to park next to Mater. And the lot's completely filled with classic cars from the movie Cars. So it was really, really cool. And if you see the big wigwams in the back, that's actually where you stayed. And all these things are like mom and pops ran. I mean, they're super nice, super clean. I mean, they were much cleaner than some of the Holiday Inn Expresses and other places that I've been. So it was absolutely wonderful. The funniest thing about them is they're like, okay, what time are you going to be there? Like, oh, we'll be there by 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Okay, fine. If we weren't, they would just leave the key under the mat or somewhere for you. So it's like, they're mom and pops, but then all of a sudden, if they want to go home, they're going to go home. So we'll leave the key for you. So, and then Sparky, this one I want you to talk about, hopefully your internet holds up, was Cadillac Ranch. I really wasn't hopped up on this thing. Chris, I'll tell you, this reminded me of Hotel California, kind of the same feeling, how it's like, yeah, it's probably just a painted building or whatever. Then you get to it and it's so much more than that. But Sparky, if you want to talk about that a little bit, the story.
So briefly, from what I've heard, is that this was actually an art piece that someone was working on the ranch or something. And so they purchased 10 of these old 50s, 60s Cadillacs. I don't know when they did that. I'd have to look it up, but they buried it and then they let the public come in and spray paint it. And I know there was a lot of people at the time. It's turned into a huge attraction. And we were even surprised at how many people. I think, Jeremy, you even jumped out and said, I can't believe all the people that are here. I said, yeah, you know what? It was an art exhibit, and it still is to this day. And we got to go see it and experience it because they actually have spray paint cans there for you to actually spray paint. And you're just there to make your mark on it and go forth. So, I mean, it was really interesting.
Oh, cool. Here we go. Look at this.
There
man.
it is.
Chris is making up now. He's like redeeming himself.
We knew you could do it.
It was created in 1974 by Chip Lord, Hudson Marquez, and Doug Michaels, who are part of an art group, Ant Farm. Interesting.
Yep.
1949 to 63 Cadillacs buried nose down in the ground, installed in 1974. Cars were either older running or used junk cars. Together spanning successive generations of the car line. So like you said, I think you told me that when we were heading there, it was like showing the different models and how it grew as a car company. So very, very cool.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Now, the one thing that you can't... go ahead.
Oh, look at the wheels on that picture, Jeremy.
Yes.
You can actually still see it.
This is
it's
perfect.
So covered with so much paint now.
Remember what these
recognizable.
Wheels look like. Yeah, remember what these wheels look like. So if you go to that video, just skip to that video. The amount of paint on these things, Brian, it's indescribable. It's like the wheels were like bubbled out, like with paint, and then
Yeah.
it looked okay. Look at the bubbles on this. It was just absolutely insane.
Really look how much paint is on this.
That is insane.
And then if you look at,
I got 3 of them.
That's awesome.
oh yeah, this guy wanted a picture.
Take a picture? Yeah.
He recognized me. Actually, no, he didn't recognize me. He was just one picture with his family. So, but the other thing funny about that place is all the caps that were on the ground were like drove into the ground, and it looked like little checkers that were in the ground. It kind of, I don't know, colored the ground a little bit, but right there, like the one in front of Sparky right there, that one's so bubbled out. It just absolutely blew me away. It looked
That's
like
crazy.
they tried
Just
to turn him
all
into a
the-
wide body.
All the many layers of paint.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I was really surprised on how much. Still holding together, really nice.
oh, absolutely. So this one was one that Sparky picked out also. It was the Wagon Wheel Motel.
Yep, the oldest hotel that's still operable to this day on Route 66. I think it was established in 1935. Is that right?
Yeah.
Jeremy?
32, 35, somewhere around there. He's in the 30s. Yeah. Yeah. So we got there. It was redone. It had a lot. I'm guessing some of the same hardwood floors, but they looked like older hardwood floors, but they were refinished. And then everything was done in the rock and the bricks, and the rooms were more like almost like apartment style, to where you had 2 rooms in one building, 2 rooms in another building. This was by far the cleanest place I've ever stayed at in my life. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. So that was a very, very nice find. You have the gas. Oh, there we go. Wagon Wheel.
The oldest continuously operated motel on Route 66.
Yeah.
Huh.
Very cool. So the gas prices on those pumps kind of made you sick. I think it was like 30 cents or something like that. So it's like the last time that those things were used. But it was a good trip. And I think more than anything, yeah, there you go.
There it is.
The good old days.
I think that's what
Yeah.
Chris paid for gas when he started driving as a teenager. 30
Maybe.
cents.
When he started using a 5.5-inch floppy computer.
Yeah. When floppy disks were floppy.
At least I know how to operate it.
I do too. I just play dumb, so you have to
Just
do
saying.
it. Who's the smart one here, buddy?
So it was really, really cool though. We had a good time. So basically it was a complete flip of a trip. We did not even do hardly anything we wanted other than, I guess, Flatiron, but it ended up being one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. And, you know, I guess sometimes you're kind of forced to do things that you don't want to do, and then you're surprised at what you find. So
Making the best out of it.
Right.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, do you want to bring up the differences?
Oh, okay. So, all right. So if you spend enough time with someone in a car, you learn a lot about each other, which we've been best friends since 18 years old. So, but it's amazing how we just at this age learned how different we are. And we always laugh about how we're yin and yang. I'm the nice one. He's the real one sometimes, right? This piece of candy right here says it all. All right. We went into a gas station, and this cute little girl, like probably 4 years old, she was handing candy out to people and being nice. And just, I guess it was a project for her to just learn to give. Like, in the cashier told me about it. So I was like, okay, thank you. How nice of you. So I get back in the car and I went to tell Adam about this. I'm like, look, I was like, this cute little girl. She just gave me a piece of candy. It was so sweet. And he goes, yeah, she tried to give me one. I said I didn't want it. So I'm like, you what? He's like, come on. He's like, you're not supposed to take candy from a stranger. So why would you give candy to a stranger? So I'm like, okay.
Well, see, in my defense, real quick. So the double standard in today's society, we're not going to go anywhere crazy, Carlson, but it's okay for a cute little girl to give a creepy old man candy, but it's not okay for a creepy old man to give a little girl candy. No, that doesn't work for me. Thank you. Move along.
Are you, Chris? Are you listening? Take notes. Put the candy down. Here it comes.
I don't give away candy. I eat it. Have you seen me? Nobody gets my candy.
Nobody taking Chris candy.
Nobody takes my candy, girl.
But that was my philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
She was cute. She was very nice. Very nice.
Oh, too funny. So no, that wraps up our trip. Like I said, I was kind of shocked about how things could go so upside down, but I don't know. So I guess in that thinking, man, I hope your trip to the AT doesn't go upside down, buddy.
Who knows, man? Last year I got off trail one day because tornadoes were coming through. So who knows what I'm going to get this year, right? Yeah.
Was that I thought that was another time other than when you were with Chris?
Oh yeah. I guess I'm almost to the point where I'm going to have to claim the rain, man. It's Chris would love that. I refuse. But no, it was last year. I can't remember what day it was now. I'd have to look back at my videos, but we had really bad winds that night. Literally, I was laying in my hammock, could not sleep because dynamic hammock in the wind, man. It was just, all night long. I was laying there watching my hammock or my tarp or my hammock, and all of a sudden a big gust of wind came, pulled all 4 stakes out of my tarp and just started flipping it over. I mean, it was a horrific night, and they were calling for tornadoes to come through that area. So we got up that morning, and the group I was hiking with, and there's 5 of us. We all headed to like a bed and breakfast and hung out, and they had like 50, 60 mile an hour winds, like torrential downpours. So yeah, I got to dodge it. I never hiked in the rain last year. Every day it was like beautiful and sunny. This year they're calling for rain. So
yeah.
Win some, lose some,
brother.
Right? Win some, lose some, man. I'm going for it. You know me. Carlson is the jinx.
Right there.
Well, I think, okay, so I think we've learned something in this. Between the 4 of us, if there's a drought in this country, we should all just go there and plan a trip, and we'll fix it at this point.
Start charging them. These states and these cities that are having droughts. Like, hey, we can bring the rain.
Show. Yeah, we could like do a fake dance or something like that, while still remaining culturally appropriate. But we could do a nice little dance.
We would be sued for that.
We've seen Chris's twerking skills.
I got plenty more.
Way too many.
Where that came from.
Way too many times.
While
we're talking about Chris, I'm always picking on him. I want to give a big shout out to my buddy Chris and Hoot and Tim Eats a Lot, Nicole, for going out to the Hoosier National Forest, Straw City Wilderness Area, campsite 25 particularly. We camped there 2 weeks ago together, and it was absolutely trashed. And those guys hiked back out a little over 2 miles and carried out 2 gigantic bags of trash. So props to you guys, man. You deserve the shout out. And I appreciate it. For one, it was so aggravating when we got there. Just so much trash in a sleeping bag. And that's what it takes. Unfortunately, it's us that know better teaching those who don't. And sometimes we have to clean up after them. But again, thank you, man. Really appreciate that. Setting a great example.
I plan on organizing more of those.
I mean, that's just setting a great example for everybody else out there that's going to see your video, and for all of us in this chat or in this live stream right now, and a lot of us in our chat that do enjoy the Deem as well. So definitely hats off to you guys. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very,
and
very,
those of you that left the trash, I'm going to join Hoot in the scalping party. We've decided to scalp those who leave trash.
Oh, too good. Yeah.
And Tanya.
Chris, you do a lot for the backpacking community, dude. So and that's just one example. I mean, like with organizing these meetups, I mean, you do a lot to try to bring like-minded individuals together. And I think that you should definitely be saluted for that. And the fact that you're always preaching. Hey,
And the chins. Look at that. I feel the chins.
speaking of meetup, that's coming up, right? So, a
Yeah.
couple things I want to announce real quick. Well, first off, our next guest on the 22nd, be looking for that one. We're going to have Frozen from Outdoor Adventures on the 22nd of March. So put that in your calendar. It'd be cool to talk to him. That guy he's probably, I always say, on my Mount Rushmore of people that taught me about backpacking, Shug, Syntax, and Frozen. So I have all three of those guys are pretty much my main three guys that taught me about
one guy
backpacking.
that just got hurt. Who's that guy?
What's that?
That one guy that just got hurt in the Grand Canyon. He's not on your Mount Rushmore.
He didn't get hurt, but he got rescued. Dan Becker had to get rescued from the Grand Canyon.
Is that what it's from? I seen that. I didn't. So yeah, we couldn't even get to. We tried to get to the Grand Canyon. We couldn't even get there. All the snow.
He was with a couple guys, and they were doing a rim to rim to rim, and they went from the south rim to the north rim. On the second day, they reached it, and the snow was so bad. They said like 8 feet of snow.
Yeah,
and they were snowshoeing, and from exhaustion, Chris, you might from your medical background help me out with the word, but it's like rhambosis or something like that. It's where
rhabdomyosis.
That's the one. Yeah, I am not a doctor. I can't even pronounce aspirin hardly. But yeah, it was from
basically
complete exhaustion.
Muscle fatigue.
Yeah, and I guess your muscles start breaking down, and the protein gets into so much protein gets into your system, it starts to shut your kidneys down. And they said they made the right call. Like, he was vomiting, had real bad chest pains, and like Dan or not, he's still human. So
the right call would have not been not to do it in the first place. But yeah, I agree.
Well, okay, and even the guy that was kind of leading the group said, "Man, I kind of felt like I caused this situation. Like, I pushed so hard." But they were trying to get to there in a camp. They said at one point they were moving a 1/4 mile an hour. Like, that's slow going. So yeah, they got him out, but it just goes to show you, don't matter how experienced or inexperienced. I mean, anything could happen, right?
Well, when we went through Flagstaff, so like Flagstaff is over 200 inches of snow this year. So when we went through Flagstaff, we're looking at 3 feet of snow on roofs after this big blast that came through. And then Sparky was driving at that point, and it was like 1.5 lanes were plowed, and that's about it. And it's like, man, we definitely made the right call, not going there. We tried to get up to the Grand Canyon. They're like, yeah, you're not gonna make it unless you do on the west side, do the tour bus. I think was open, but that didn't really fit our timeline, so we had to bail on that. But
yeah, the video that I watched, I can't remember now which one I watched, but they had like a big cat with a scraper blade, like clearing the path out to get the ambulance out. And they said, if it's an extreme emergency, they're going to have to fly him out. But yeah, it's scary stuff. I don't wish that on anybody.
Yeah. Some of the mountains in Flagstaff, they look like, if you could imagine like an overstuffed ice cream cone, that's what they look like. I mean, it was just snow was bulging off. Yeah.
Ice cream.
He was nice to you. You got your nice comment.
Yeah,
and
that was like 30 seconds nice right there.
He knows I love him.
So
I got a bone to pick with Tanya before you go. Tanya, can we ban Carlson from the meetups? Really? I thought we were on a team together here. That's that right there. It hurts in the heart.
She's an equal opportunity disser.
She is. She's on Team Tanya. She's not on any team.
Right. Oh, that's funny. So, hey, for your meetup, okay? Couple things I'm going to announce now that I'm going to give away, okay? So I'm going to throw in the kitty, a headlamp, all right? So I got this headlamp to try out. They gave me 2, one to give away, so I'm going to throw that in the kitty. A polar jammer, of course, right? Yeah. And I'm going to do something here. Bumblebee 2.0 is going into the kitty for the drawing.
The Cloud 71 hammock.
Yeah. Yep. With stuff sack, the gear loft. Yeah. Naughty mod, all the works. So
nice.
Hey, Jeremy, do you want to throw in those tent pole stakes?
They finally went, Chris. The tent poles finally went.
Did they go?
I was so frustrated they became javelins. I'll put it that way. So it was not good.
One thing I wanted to say about the meetup as well is we also have an overlanding. We have an overlanding club that's going to join us. So we may have gone from 30 expected people to 60. So it's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. And I'm hoping I'm going to talk to the founder of that club. I'm going to see if they bring their rigs out, if they would do tours. So I thought that would be neat. People touring, you get to tour everybody's rig.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll drive.
Is it Indiana Overlanders? Is that what the name of the
Indie
Facebook?
Overlanders?
Indie Overlanders.
Yeah.
On Facebook. Yep.
Awesome.
So we're excited that they're joining us, and we're excited to meet some new people.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I'm excited about it.
I think it's going to be great.
Well, Jeremy, I'm nominating you as our overlanding ambassador to them. So, because you really like overlanding. So,
I do.
And so you're the perfect person to do that.
So I do like overlanding. I'm committing to doing some more hiking though, because I kind of missed it. Like I think I realized, especially on Flatiron, it's like, man, I miss this. I mean, as I can't breathe and feel like I'm going to die. But I do want to get out and do some more hiking. But yeah, I have truly fallen in love with being able to just drive over rocks, as stupid as that sounds.
Hey, I'm up for another gorge trip this summer. Just saying,
dude. I think we're going to get.
I'm not interested in Fincastle, but we'll go somewhere else. I have made it over Fincastle with a little help, but I made it, and I don't have anything else to prove there. Next,
I want Lance to try Fincastle. Is what I want. We need Lance to try to do Fincastle in his Renegade. So we can stack some.
He could fit between the big rocks.
You know what? I believe he could.
I bet he could. The side by sides did it.
Yeah, he's not much bigger than a Polaris Ranger, So
poor guy.
Oh, our rig will fit right in. Is that the trailer? They got a trailer that they made.
Yeah, and they've got a Subaru. I don't know what kind of Subaru. I don't know much about them, but no, they got a Subaru, and they have a custom built trailer being built. I think it's going to be ready for the meetup. Is it an Outback?
I don't know.
Awesome. Cool.
I don't know
what y'all got?
Yeah.
What you got?
I just know that everyone in Colorado has them.
I'm going to have to park my Tacoma.
I see more Toyotas than anything out west. That's all I see is Toyotas out west. I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to hate on them. I can, since they saved me. So in your Tundra, pulled me out of the mud. So, but
no,
yeah,
I think it'll be cool with this overlanding because they have Jeeps, they have rooftop tents, they have hard shell clam rooftop tents. They got all kinds of stuff. And I'm excited to see what all they bring.
Oh, I'm excited now. Who's your outdoor? You're bringing your ambulance? That makes me happy.
Heck yeah.
I actually really am excited to see that.
I want to see all those wires organized by color. That's what I want to see.
That is awesome.
All the ones he pulled out.
Very, very cool. All righty, guys. Well, we're like 8 minutes now. So yeah. So just kind of a different spin on the show tonight. Just feel like we had to talk about or got to talk about some of the stuff that we did and didn't do. And, I guess in the end, it doesn't go as planned. It still is cool. So, and then Brian must be late. But all righty. Well, guys, thanks for coming in. Be sure to jump on March 22nd for Outdoor Adventures, and then be looking for the Hoosier Meetup the 28th. So, all righty.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.